Welcome to the platform updates for Skillable for June 2025. My name is Paul Gregory. I'm a solutions architect here at Skillable, and we'd just like to tell you about some of the things that we've been doing. In terms of components that sort of directly impact our customers, it's a bit quiet at the moment. We've got a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and we're hoping there's going to be a lot of really amazing stuff released in the second half of the year. Same as we had a really busy beginning first half of 2025 as well. So we've only got some stuff with respect to Studio. So there's a couple of things I would like to talk to you about. So the first thing is we've released a couple of new templates with respect to Studio. Okay, I just want to get a browser. Okay. So the first new template that we've released is actually a template based on something called the Cisco Modeling Labs. So this is actually a tool which is really designed for building network environments. So the idea is you can build hands-on labs and learning and testing using network appliances. So Cisco have this tool called the Cisco Modeling Labs. Obviously, they originally wrote it for hosting sort of images of their networking technologies, switches, routers, firewalls, etc., etc. Okay, but you can put other appliances in it as well. So we have released a template that has Cisco Modeling Labs built into it. Okay, that's a really great template that we've released. A couple of things to be aware of if you're familiar with the technology. It is the free version. Okay, but you can license it. So if your organization does have a license or you've got a personal license, you can absolutely license it and therefore expand its capabilities. No problems at all. The other thing, if you're not really familiar with this, hi Colin. If I just hit the details, it's pretty well documented as well. Okay, so in the actual documentation page, as well as obviously stuff about the environment, there's lots of sort of Cisco documentation available, how to access it, how to use it, how to build images, environments. So there's lots of stuff in here which is sort of real high value. Okay, so that's the first template we've released. So like networking is the sort of thing you might create course content on, or maybe cybersecurity with networking pieces. That might be a really great template for you that we've released. The last thing that we've been working on, and we have shown some of these, but I just want to talk about these in a little bit more detail. So we've started to build now are what we call showcase labs. Okay, so if I come into feature demonstrations here, this is the first place that we've really been working with this capability, where we're actually starting to show you like how to leverage scalable features. Okay, and then actually teach you how to use scalable features. So these are not really designed for you to actually build labs from. Okay, these are more for educational purposes. So I know we did a lab developer workshop at the beginning of the year on VM endpoints. We've also built a whole series of labs. So again, the idea is in most instances you want to hit the preview button and just look at it. Okay, and then there's a load of guidance in the instructions on what to go and have a look at in here. So these are really powerful. I'm just going to show you actually a different one, just because a nested one assumes you've looked at one of the ones that aren't nested. So if I come in here, for example, so there's not much in the instructions. The idea is you can pick your endpoint type. Okay, and then when you pick your endpoint type, it sort of talks you through how you would configure this. So because this is custom endpoints on Windows, it actually talks about things that you would do to install the software to make this work, and how you would then go and configure endpoints and that. And then the idea is if you launch the lab, okay, what you've actually got is a breakdown of actually how this particular environment's configured, so you can actually go in and you can review the configuration. So the idea behind these is they show you how to configure it by giving you the instructions. Then they give you an environment that's been configured and is working, so you can see it working, but you can then actually look at the configuration. We give you the guidance on that, on what's been configured to make that work. Okay, so hopefully that ends up being sort of a powerful learning tool, which is sort of what we've been building them for. Okay, So hopefully you might find those really useful and powerful as well. So we've released those. Okay. On top of that, we've actually effectively made generally available some other features. Okay. On the Lab Developer Workshop in May, if you attended the May Lab Developer Workshop, you got your hands on AI Vision. Okay, you played with AI Vision. Okay, that is now generally available. So that is available for every customer. It was turned on for every customer, except for customers that said, we don't want that. Okay, so assuming you wasn't a customer or you don't work for a customer that said they don't want it, if you go into a lab profile, any lab profile, edit the instructions and go to the activities button, you will now have the new AI Vision button. Okay. If you don't have that button, that effectively is because somebody in your organization contacted us and said, we don't want that feature. Okay. So obviously the key thing is if you think, well, actually, we did that on the last month's Lab Developer Workshop and we would love that feature, then ultimately you need to have a conversation internally so that we're allowed to turn that on. Because the way it works in our platform is everyone got it and we specifically had to turn it off for people. So it wasn't a case of we turned it on for everybody and then there were some we didn't turn it on for. It's effectively turned on for everyone and then we put a block in for customers that don't want it. Okay, so if you haven't got that button, that's basically because someone in your organization contacted us and said, no, thank you. So that's been released. We've also released the new activity group scoring capability. We touched on this last time, but we didn't really go into any detail on it. And we're not going to go into any detail now. To give you a one-liner on what this feature is, okay, let's say, for example, you've got 10 things that you want people to do in a lab, and effectively you want them to pass that lab if they get 7 of them right. So if they get 7 out of the 10 right, they can pass. Okay. Well, that's what activity group scoring it allows you to do. It allows you to tell the system how many out of a group of activities basically people have to pass in order to get it marked as correct. Okay. So it's a way of sort of just changing the scoring model. So little sneak peek from the point of view of the July Lab Developer Workshop. I did think this was going to be a series of 2, May and June. I've now decided this is going to be a series of 3 Lab Developer Workshops. So May was the non-coding activities. June is effectively scripted activities, so coding activities. Okay. And really, we're going to focus on scoring for the July one. Okay. So we will look at that and we'll look at because we've really got 3 different scoring methods now. We want to sort of go into those and talk about them in a bit more detail. And that gets me to the last scoring model that we also released this week, which is something called scaled scoring. Okay. If you work in academia or you work in scenarios where there's high stakes certification, then you might be familiar with scaled scoring. You know, you might have been a victim of scaled scoring from your school exams, or if you've taken industry standard exams like AWS exams or Microsoft exams and things, because they generally all use scaled scoring approaches. Effectively, scaled scoring is a way where you can take different exams. Okay, so as the exam changes over years, so you think about, you go and do your mathematics exam at school. Okay, the questions change every year, but actually everyone gets marked out the same score effectively. Okay, so at that point, scaled scoring comes into play. Okay, and we support what's called linear scaled scoring. Okay, so sometimes people talk about scoring on the curve. Okay, we don't do that. We do linear scale scoring, and we have that released. So again, not a feature that maybe many customers would use because it's really going to be tied to serious certifications in most instances. So high stakes, sort of thing that people's jobs are on. But we have now made that available as a general available feature. So they're really the updates. So not a massive amount of updates in terms of things that you can touch and feel. Obviously, we'll get you to have a play with those scoring related things next month.